All right, here we are with the second video for Kenny Watson from Swim, Bike, Run Sports, Run Analysis, Mike Finnegan. So, from the rear, only a few things we really got to check. We got to look at your hip drop. We got to look at the lateral motion of the arms. And we got to look at the way you strike the ground. So, let's go ahead and slow this sucker down. So your shirt's a little baggy, but we can make out with as best we can. So for your hip drop, what we're looking for is exactly when your right foot is at full knee compression or your left foot is at full knee compression, what is it doing to the opposite hip as your other foot is swinging through the air to begin the next stride. So what we're looking for is right about, Kenny, I think, this is a Trendelenburg sign is what we're looking for, is how strong are the hip abductors on the plant leg as you are having to catch your body on the way down. Now, as we said in the first video, your knee compression is pretty high. So you're having to use a lot of energy with your hip abductors catching your body on the way down, which means that you have to be flexing pretty strong to catch your opposing hip to your plant foot to keep your body, of course, from just simply falling all the way down. So what we're looking for with lateral hip drop is your hip drop compared to horizontal. So the hip strength versus the overstride of the plant foot. So plant foot is going to be right under your body, right about there. So I don't really have to draw a line. It looks like you're almost at zero, maybe like 1 or 2 degrees. I can pretend for the sake of practice, but let's go to blue. Blue is the color of trust, according to psychologists. So if I use blue, it means you'll just trust me. So, I mean, that's, yeah. So your hip drop is pretty good. It means you have strong abductors. It also means you do a really good job of maintaining a level balance on both sides. So that's really good. I can clear that. Let's look at the left leg and just see what happens as we go forward. So watch your right hip. I mean, your hips are almost completely level the entire stride. So that's really good. I mean, I'd almost say that. Now, what I would like to do is see what happens to your hips as you get tired. And by tired, I mean if you're going to do a half marathon, let's just assume you're going to run, I think you said you're going to run nines. Nines is almost a 2-hour pace. I'd love to see your hips at hour 1.5 to see what true fatigue does. Because remember, we're only at I believe this was like minute 7 of a run. And it's for demonstrative purposes. But it still matters. So your hip drop looks good. So something to mentally be aware of. You don't want to let your body get loose up top as you're running, even though you get tired. Because if you let your hip drop up, opposite your plant foot, then you're wasting energy catching your body, and you're over-firing your hip abductors, which are, I mean, it's the major muscle group that catches your body on the way down. So you do a pretty good job. It means you got to keep your core tight as you run, so it holds your hip up so that you don't have very far to catch on the way down. What I like to look at, which is not really conventional, it's just simply intuitive. Let's take a look at your hand motion. I want you to see your hands and your elbows as you're running, because like I said, any lateral motion it creates turbulence, so to speak, in the forward direction of your run, because the objective of running is to go forward from A to B, as we said in the last video. So any motion that goes up, down, or left, right is motion that then has to be counterbalanced and corrected in order to maintain forward motion. So taking a look at your arms and your hands are a good indication of what you're doing. So watch your right hand, right? We can go forward here a little bit. So watch your right hand. So we can see your right hand, and now we can't see your right hand. So what that means is your right hand went from right to left. Now, of course, you don't have to be a choo-choo train and run with your hands in direct parallel with each other and continue the forward motion, but you do want to be aware that too much left to right causes too much core tension in the wrong direction. It's like spinning a top that's trying to go forward. Spinning tops don't want to go forward. They want to stay in one spot. So as you're running, you want to do the best you can to make sure that your hands are also going front to back. It doesn't make sense if your hands go straight back. However, that is the minimum amount of resistance that you can create in the forward motion. If you introduce a lateral component, you've now created a vector in two planes of two planes of freedom as opposed to one. So you want to try and keep it all in one plane of freedom. I'm not sure exactly what classes you've taken, but biomechanics, they do a good job of explaining that. So the point is, since you're trying to go forward and you're not trying to go left or right, you want to make sure that all your motion is going forward. That's one of the reasons why you also want to keep your body from moving too far up and down, which is what knee compression is used to measure. So let's take a look at your foot strike and see how your foot hits the ground. So in long distance endurance running, short of Olympic quality athletes, which is really the top, infinitesimally small population of runners, we're going to be mid-foot strikers, which means when you put your foot forward, the first thing to touch the ground is going to be your heel. But that doesn't mean it's the first thing to strike the ground. It means the first thing to touch the ground. What really absorbs the initial impact should be the mid-foot, the mid-arch, your metatarsals, your navicular, and so forth. Your calcaneus shouldn't be taking the brunt of your forward stride. You also want to make sure that your feet are maintaining proper separation and that they are not being put directly underneath you. This creates an awkward stress on your ankle, knee, hip, low back, thoracics, all the way up to the neck and skull. So Kenny, you do a really good job, man. If you'll look, imagine if you were running in the sand and we were able to look at your footprints in the sand. We want to be able to draw a line, for what it's worth, directly between your left and right footprints, and that line should not touch either set of footprints, or it slightly intersects the big toe. As you can see, your foot is not directly under you. Your foot is, however, though, a little close to the center line. You see your ankle there? Your ankle is now bent out in an awkward position. That isn't so much a problem for speed. That is a problem for injury. What we don't want to do is create undue stress on the ligaments and create an awkward biomechanical force that could, over repetition, lead to degenerative changes that may make it more difficult to run in the future and lead to future problems. So what we want to try and do at this exact point is we want this foot to be about 1.5 to 2 inches to the right. We want it to be right under your knee. Studies have shown that the number one way to correct mistakes is to alert you of the mistake. Mental cognizance is so much more important than physical repetition. As long as you know, I would put a lot of money on it. You don't even know that you do this. Let's look at the next foot. And the reason why you don't know is very, 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 very rational. No one's pointed it out, nor did you know you're supposed to. So look at your left foot. So, and actually look at your right foot here. As you step off the ground, let's slow this up. Check this out. Your right foot's on the ground. It stays there. Now watch. You kick left. Your right foot kicks to the left after you come off the ground. You're introducing a lateral motion to your foot. Now, instead of bringing your foot directly forward, you have to bring your foot to the right and then forward. You're wasting energy. What you want to try and do is, and this is an extremely minute detail. I mean, we're looking at maximum efficiency. This isn't something that's going to change your marathon time from 3 hours to 2 hours and 15 minutes. This is, however, something that's going to change your marathon time from 3 hours to 2 hours and 55 minutes, and you won't be as sore the next day. So keep in mind exactly what we're looking at. But at a full gait analysis, we want maximum efficiency, and we want to reduce injury. Let's see if your left foot does the same thing. Left foot comes off the ground, and see that? See how your left foot does not kick right. Your right foot kicks left. Look at that. Almost by, I mean, that's a solid 2-inch kick to the left that your right foot does. That's your natural run stride. Completely normal. absolutely no fault of your own. It's simply something that we have to address, and we have to maintain some sort of cognitive awareness so that as you go forward, you try and maintain equality on both sides. Symmetry is so important. I'd almost rather you be wrong on both sides than right on one and wrong on the other. So at least then we can focus on both legs. But that's a conversation for another video. So your leg impact as you hit the ground, how far you bend your knee, how much force you have to catch to come off your foot to propel your body to the next step. If you remember from the first video, you had a weak knee drive. We fixed that knee drive, and all of a sudden everything else doesn't necessarily fall into place, but now we begin to find out exactly what your body wants to do at maximum efficiency. You'll have to take my word for it. I watched your video the whole way through in real time, and I counted your steps. In exactly 60 seconds, you take 170 steps. That, sir, is 85 steps per foot per minute. The evidence has shown over and over and over from every single study done, be it from Saucony or New Balance, Asics, Brooks, any shoe company, the maximum efficiency of the human body as we know it today is 90 steps per foot per minute. So you are taking 5 steps too little a minute with each foot. So you're falling 10 steps short of maximum efficiency. It is my experience that right now, if you increase your knee drive by 10 degrees, I believe it was at 37, if you go up to 47, and if we somehow can get it up by 15 degrees, we can go to 63 degrees knee drive. You're going to increase your step per minute count. That right there is going to make you faster by default. But what I just said was nothing short of hard work. You increase your steps per minute, means you increase muscle firing, which means you increase energy dependence, which means you have to increase your energy storage. So all of those things, they all impact each other. Let's go a little bit here in slow motion and just take a look at your foot. I really like the way that your foot hits the ground. There we go. I mean, watch your right foot as best you can. It hits the ground. Your heel touches the ground, but it doesn't strike it. Then your midfoot takes most of your weight, and then you go forward. What we need to fix is your knee is extremely straight right there, and then it's extremely, you bend it down a lot, if you remember from the lateral video. Once again, we saw you in minutes 7, I think, to 9 in these videos, and it may not be a true representation of how you run over 3 hours. It is, however, a snapshot in time and something to bring us to the awareness of how important it is to have a proper running mechanics. So before we end this video, let's make sure we went over everything. We got your we got your steps per minute. We looked at your lateral hip drop, very good. Everything from the first video, if you can review it. So the goal here, let's pick on one thing and fix it, and then see how everything else pans out. Your knee drive is the first thing we focus on. That can be, we can practice that with just a few drills on the track. It'll take 30, 45 minutes, 2 times a week for a couple weeks, and then your knee drive will no longer be a problem, and then we assess how does that impact everything else in your stride. So Kenny, overall, for being a new runner, brother, you got yourself a very solid composition. You are going to have to focus on your nutrition for your first half marathon. I think you're going to do really well. You seem really disciplined. You also seem really motivated, and I love to see that in athletes. What we're trying to do here is, once again, you don't really do anything quote-unquote wrong. We just simply want to increase your efficiency and decrease your susceptibility to injury. That's going to give you a long and healthy running career. So there's going to be one more video. We're going to compare you to a runner who does basically everything perfectly. Not so much, or we're going to do that so you can see what it means to be in correct form and shape, and how you compare to someone who does everything with maximum efficiency. Really important to know. If you want to do something well, find someone who does it well and do what they do. So we're going to take that step as we go forward. So we have one more video to take into account. This is once again Mike Finn, head coach, Swim Bike Run Sports with Kenny. This video, November 9th, 2015 on the campus of Texas Chiropractic College. Kenny, we're on to the next video.